Welcome to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-hosts, Russell Jackman and Mike McDowd. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. And again, we just love those baseball questions. So because I know Russ, don't worry, Russ, fairly soon we'll get back into basketball, your favorite, and then some football.
Yeah, but probably October. I think we'll probably wind up in football first.
Yeah, that's true. We will. Okay, when we come back, we do want to talk about the Olympics, and something I wanted to brought up last week, and I forgot to do this. So, 25-year-old Juan Soto, free agent next year, expected to sign a contract of at least $500 million. He had rejected a $440 million contract with the Nationals. Now, I'm thinking, why would you reject it unless you just either don't like the guys on your team or you just think that you're never going to win anything? I'd be scared not to accept a $440 million contract. What happens if you get hurt? Same thing that the guys in college, right?
Is that the ultimate in? I'm going to keep this very simple. That is the ultimate in greed, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, come on, that's insane. That's insane. How much money do you need? Seriously.
Yeah, as they said in Wall Street. Remember when Martin?
You're asking the wrong person, by the way. You're asking the wrong person, by the way, when you ask how much money do you need. This is the wrong guy there.
No, but I mean, in the movie Wall Street, Charlie Sheen says, "How many yachts can you water ski behind?" Right? He asked Gordon Gekko. He says, "Greed is good." Oh boy, that's funny. Okay, we don't have any guests today, but when we come back, I'm sure we have a lot to talk about. And let's see. Okay, don't touch that dial. Sports Econ 101 will be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown, along with Mike McDowd and Russell Jackman. All right, guys. Of course, we have to start off with the Olympics. So I'm thinking that Paris kind of pulled a Bud Light fiasco. I kind of feel sorry for those athletes because, a lot of people have decided they were going to boycott watching them. Now they're not doing it.
I will come right out and say anyone who isn't watching the Olympics because of the opening ceremonies are the biggest sports morons on the planet. And I don't care if they're offended by a bacchanalian thing during the opening. If you care that much, first of all, you shouldn't even care that much about the opening ceremony at all. You should be caring about the athletes and what they're doing on the field, on the court. That's what you're there for the Olympics. The opening ceremony is absolute just pap. It is just, a filling, and the fact that anyone else is upset by that, I'm really upset by the people being upset.
Well, I wonder, is there if I watch the Olympics versus don't watch the Olympics, it's not the Olympics that would get hurt, right? It's not Paris that would get hurt. It would only be, let's say, NBC or whoever's carrying it this year.
No, it'd be you. It'd be you.
No. I know. I'm talking about
watching world records. You're missing out on watching athletes and their amazing stories. You're missing out on what everybody talking at the water cooler about amazing stuff that is happening, the gold medal records that are being set. And if you think that a little ceremony that happens at the beginning should change whether or not you would support our country and our athletes, I call out somebody's real patriotism if they can't handle something.
Listen, it's the same thing when when we boycotted Russia going into Afghanistan in 1980.
That's not the same thing. That's not the same thing.
I was really upset with that because I kept feeling about the poor athletes who trained all their life and now they had to wait 4 years and maybe they'd qualify the next 4 years. And then, Russia goes ahead and does that to us in '84, the same thing. But I was just thinking that if I watch the Olympics on TV versus don't watch it, who gets the economic impact of that? Be just a TV station, wouldn't it?
Yeah, the advertisers, really.
Yeah. And so I know one advertiser pulled out, but it's just, the thing that's frustrating is why do they have to do something that's going to be like shock value, or why can't they just make it about
The French love Jerry Lewis. Give me a break. You want the French sense of humor, and they think Jerry Lewis is a genius. So you're never going to get anything that makes any sense out of the French, because they're the French, and they're a dead empire. They used to run the world. Now they don't. They're bitter about it. But find me a dead empire that isn't. So
it's funny because we bailed them out of World War I and World War II, but they bailed us out of the Revolutionary War.
Yeah.
We get some,
and they sold us Louisiana. So what are you going to do?
The Louisiana. What do they call that? 1803.
Yeah,
Louisiana Purchase.
Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they give us Louisiana. What are you going to do? What are you going to do about that? No, the people want to be irreverent. They want to shock people and have people feel that there's some kind of artistic statement that's going on. But once that was done, the fact that people can't move on and enjoy exactly what's going on in front of their face with some just amazing sports stuff.
No, that's true. And you are punishing other people for what, the host country decides to do. I mean, I see the point. Go ahead, Mike.
But I take a totally different tact on this. That has no place in an Olympic ceremony. You don't need to really promote something that represents 0.10 of the entire world. First and foremost, it offended me as a Catholic Christian. There's 2.6 billion Christians on the planet, and for them to come after us is highly offensive.
They didn't come after
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. And I'll tell you why they did.
No, they did not.
I'll tell you why they did.
Celebration. It had nothing to do with
they purposely went and attacked Jesus Christ. The Last Supper. It was disgusting. It was violent. It was horrific.
I gotta agree with Mike on, but I look what they would be afraid to do that to Muhammad. They would literally be afraid. I know, because look what happened in England when they had the Charlie Hebdo or whatever, and they just did a caricature picture of Muhammad and they shot it up, and 8 people died. So
this was a celebration of
We're not going to do that.
This was a simulation of a Bacchanalian alien party.
No. Yeah, come on. You know what? Don't believe the CNN hype. Okay,
that is what the person who put the thing on said they were intending to do.
No, you know what? That's a smokescreen. If you really get into it,
I have news for both of you guys. That picture of the Last Supper, that wasn't a photograph. What you think was the Last Supper may not have been anything that occurred during that time. You're not actually looking at a photo of Jesus Christ.
It was, but hold on, Russ. If you were shown Da Vinci's painting, what would you call it?
I would say that it was a fictitious drawing, a painting of something that somebody painted thousands of years after it actually occurred, with no actual
I know, but it doesn't matter, though. It doesn't. It's supposed to be what it's. In fact, I think, didn't Da Vinci even call it the Last Supper?
He did, but that doesn't mean he saw any of the events that occurred. He just was
doing it. Right. Listen, he could have drawn aliens with 3 eyes and called it that. But if they replicated that, then they were mocking it. So it's irrelevant whether it actually
weren't replicating that.
Like that.
They weren't replicating that. That was a different. They were trying to replicate something else, and the Christians are reading into it, and they don't. I don't give them any credit for it.
We're not reading into it whatsoever. The evidence is overwhelming. You look at the photographs, and I have the photographs. It's obvious what is going on there. They are actually mocking the apostles and Jesus, and it's just not the place to do it. Furthermore, the entire ceremony, if you look at it, and it kind of was dumbfounding, almost decent. They were throwing in a certain lifestyle. Who cares about a person's sexuality? That's the overall ceremony was almost it had elements of what I would call demonicism or Satanism. I was appalled at it. What the hell is this?
I think
Yeah.
both of you guys
I
are
want
way too
sports.
sensitive. I
Give
think
me
you guys are way too
sports.
sensitive. I think you guys are
Well, I
way
mean, listen,
oversensitive
what
on
would
it.
happen if they would have done? Okay, now Russell, you're Jewish, right? And so am I.
Yes.
What would happen if they would have had a depiction of Hitler putting Jews into ovens and just calling it
Yeah.
art?
You really think that's equally bad? That
Well,
what
I'm
you
just, no,
saw
I'm
was
just
the
saying,
equivalent of
hey,
murder, or watching
if
murders
some
happen
guy's
in front of you.
artistic,
You really
I'm just
think
saying,
that
hey,
that was the
like, at least they
equivalent of
know it's
watching
not
murder?
really Hitler, even though he's got the mustache.
You really
And if
think
they
that
put it
was
up
the
and
equivalent of watching somebody getting killed? You really
I,
think that what you saw was as bad as watching someone being killed in
no,
front of your
no,
eyes?
no, I don't. Honestly, no, I
Okay,
don't. You
then
make a good
take
point.
that example the fuck out of your. Pardon me. Don't
Mhm.
bring up Jews being killed and then say that's the same thing as what you saw on the opening ceremony. That disgusts
I'm
me.
just talking
That
about people being
disgusts me.
offended. I'm
That
just talking about people
disgusts
being
me that you
offended.
could
That's
bring that
all.
up as a concept and say that this is as bad as watching Jews being killed. That
I'm just
is
saying
really
something.
bad. That makes me very
I'd have to ask you,
angry.
Russ.
That
Okay,
makes me very angry.
hold on. Bad example. What
Very
example?
bad example.
Hold on. What
I'm
example
ready
would
to
be?
hang up. I'm ready to
Hold
hang
on,
up.
hold on. What example would be for you that would be? Oh my! Oh, we lost our co-host. I was going to ask him. Okay, Russ. Well, what would be for you something that would be offensive that you wouldn't want to watch? But well, hold on, we might have just lost Russell there. Okay, let's go to our. He's going to miss our trivia questions. Okay, who was the only Rookie of the Year award winner to be a Seattle Pilot? Remember that they were in existence. Okay, do you know the answer to this though?
I remember the pilots, but this is a good trivia question. I'm going to think hard about this one.
And you'll know the player, and he ended up being a coach as well. All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We are going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. I'm Edward Brown along with Mike McDowd. We lost Russell. Unfortunately, I brought up something that was a little bit too offensive for him, but I was trying to make a point just about something that could be offensive that would that he would take personally, and I think I struck too hard a nerve on that one. So anyway, the first trivia question, I'm talking baseball here. Who was the only Rookie of the Year award winner to be a Seattle Pilot?
And he's a manager as well.
He was the manager. Now you think of him generally as a third baseman, and I'll tell you, usually think of him at third base, and then you think of him as a manager. I think he managed the Yankees and the Mariners, if I'm not mistaken. I think it's been a while. So 1969, what happened was in 1969, spring training, and then he got traded to the Royals. That's right, he played for the Royals and then the Yankees before the season began.
First
You ready?
name Joe.
Nope.
Name's Joe.
No,
Nope.
Lou Piniella. Lou Piniella was
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
No,
Very good.
Lou Pinella's a great player. Great player,
Yeah,
great
yeah.
manager. Great manager. I mean,
Yeah, he was. He had a lot of fire in his belly, didn't he?
he sure as heck did. He reminded me a little bit of Billy Martin.
Billy Martin.
And, you know,
yeah, Billy was quite a scrappy player, or a scrappy manager. Yeah.
Absolutely. You know, I'm going to say something totally off script. I don't know if you see this shirt. It says West Ham FC. That is a English Premier League team. And I just saw them play Saturday night in Jacksonville, Florida. They played Wolverhampton. The reason I mentioned, have you ever seen the show Ted Lasso?
You know what's funny? I have not. I know basically what it's about, but I have not seen it.
West Ham is the owner of the Ted Lasso's team is a female. Her ex-husband purposely bought West Ham, and they're featured in this Ted Lasso show, which is a great show, by the way. Yeah, I highly recommend that people watch it. But anyway, that's my random little thing there. But you know, something we talked about, Edward, in the Olympics, which I found a bit interesting. You know, of course, soccer is part of the Olympics, and apparently, fans who packed the stadium between Argentina and Morocco looks like let's see, Argentina's Christine Medina's goal in the 16th minute added extra time, and it was thought it was a full-time whistle that would have ended the match, and instead the Moroccans thought that they had tied or actually won, and there was extra time added to the match, and they stormed the field. I bring that up for obvious reasons, security issues, and something to keep in touch. That's one subject that's at the Olympics. Also, the what is it? The triathlon. Do you know they're having trouble swimming in the river there because of bacteria? The bacteria levels are way too high, and they can't swim in the river as of right now. So they've had to postpone the triathlon. Isn't that amazing?
It's good that they tested it at least, rather than just throw them in there and then go, oh, oops, there we have a problem.
No, I mean, but it can be a real problem. I mean, those athletes are, you swim in that river. I guess it's where, what's the famous river there? It's where they had the opening ceremonies.
Not the River Thames. That's in England.
No.
The French Riviera. Just kidding.
Did you even watch the opening ceremony?
I didn't. I heard about it, and I just, it's funny. I haven't watched the Olympics since I think '84. I don't know what it was. It just lost.
Really?
I would definitely watch highlights, and there's certain things I enjoy, and like the medley with swimming. That's always kind of exciting. And then the women's gymnastics is always really good, and what they do on the bars and all that. And then and see, the problem with basketball is, well, not now, but in the old days, it was when the dream team came. I mean, they just would crush everybody in the beginning, and now they really have to kind of fight for it, don't they?
Yeah. I mean, you look at the Olympics overall, and I'll never forget 1972. I was a tiny kid. I was shocked. It's so seared into my memory. I mean, I know you remember this as well. The fact that we lost to the Russians in that game, and they added the extra second on that long pass, and the Russians beat us. And of course, that was an actual amateur team, but we still won that game. They cheated in that game, and that to me, that kind of that set such a horrible precedent. How that could even happen?
They did it twice, if I'm not mistaken. It wasn't just like, oops, there was one thing. I think there was, if I'm not mistaken, the Americans won, and then they basically said, no, wait a minute, we had something, or there was some weird thing with the time clock or something weird, and so they did it again, and the Americans won again, and they go, wait, no, there's something else wrong, and then while things were getting a little bit scrambly, the long pass to the Russians, and they won. So, and if you remember, that was Munich. That was when
it was.
Yeah, I remember it very well, actually. And then it was 72 that Mark Spitz won the 7 medals?
I think that wasn't that 76 in Montreal.
See, I'm trying to. I remember Bruce Jenner did great in 76, and then you had Nadia Comaneci then and Olga Korbut in 72. So I remember some things that just really stood out in my mind. But I thought it was 72 that Mark Spitz did the. And in fact, and also was it 72 that Rick DeMont?
Well, that's what the reference point is, because Rick DeMont, a graduate of our high school, Terralita High School, which is in the San Francisco Bay Area, it's a suburb, was a famed Rick DeMont. I just read about it last night. For folks who don't know who he was a world champion multiple times. Do you know how good he was? I mean, I didn't realize just how good he was, but he was a stud. And he had his gold medal taken away. In fact, you and I both tried to reach out to Rick to come on the show, and he had his gold medal taken away from him, which was a major controversy because he was on asthma, and he took like an over-the-counter or some sort of asthma drug that was apparently approved by the U.S. Olympic Committee, but the U.S. Olympic Committee did not get approval from the IOC health people. So that's where it all stemmed from. It's one of the great travesties in Olympic sports. I agree. maybe because we are connected to him as well in some sense. But
It's not like you got injected with steroids, in asthma medicine. Come on.
yeah, no, it's actually rather insane. In my humble opinion, the other cool story, Edward, is this former NBA player Chase Budinger. Are you familiar with him?
No.
He was a member of the Timberwolves, played a few years in the NBA. Now he's on the men's beach volleyball team, and
Wow.
he won his first match yesterday.
Very cool. It's interesting. In 72, well, we're talking about the men's basketball. Back then it was only amateurs that were allowed to play, but I think that like the Russians, they paid their players, right? I mean, they had professionals, and I don't know when did it.
I think you're right.
Yeah, when did it stop being amateurs? Like for all. I mean, can you put any professional for anybody for anything?
Yeah, the last what? What do you think? 15 years? 20 years?
Something like that, yeah. So, I guess it'd be one thing if you had maybe two different things. Maybe it's too much to do, like a world Olympic type thing versus just a regular Olympics, where you have amateurs.
Athletes, yeah.
But if you put the best of the best, I mean, I can kind of understand throwing the professionals in there.
Well, I mean, when you asked one that was obviously, it was what, around the Dream Team? That was what, it wasn't 84, was it?
No, that was 92.
92. So that's when they allowed professional athletes. I mean, that team was so good. There's comparisons. You got Kevin Durant and different players on this current so-called Dream Team, but our great warrior who can shoot the ball pretty well. Steph Curry. But I don't think there's ever going to be the magic that was, quote, because Magic Johnson was on that team. There, Bird, Magic, John Stockton, Charles Barkley.
Jordan, Mullen.
David Robinson.
David Robinson was on there, great Chris Mullen.
Chris Mullen. I mean, there was something so magical about that team, and that never can be recreated.
Well, and also even the opposing players would come up and ask for their autographs. Back then you didn't have as much of the international. Tell you what, hey, let's go to our second trivia question, baseball here. And we miss Russ. We hope he comes back. Name two pitchers in the modern era to win 20 games in a season for three different teams. And I'll give you a hint. One was in the 1960s and the other was in the 1980s. So two pitchers. Name two pitchers in the modern era to win 20 games in a season for three different teams. I say modern era because probably Cy Young was one of those in the non-modern. All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here along with Mike McDowd. Hoping Russ will come back, but I don't know. I think I offended him too much. All right. Name two pitchers in the modern era to win 20 games in a season for three different teams. Guess one of them.
Three different teams. That's
pretty good. 20 games. Okay. Gaylord Perry did it for the
that
Giants.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, he did it for the Giants, the Indians, and the Padres. And Roger Clemens did it for the Red Sox, Blue Jays, and Yankees.
Really?
Yeah. It's funny because I wouldn't have thought he would have won that many games for the Blue Jays. But, you always think about the Red Sox. And then, boom, he goes to the Yankees, and he does really well, too. So he must have finally gotten a World Series ring with the Yankees, didn't he?
Who was that now?
Roger Clemens.
I think he did.
I think he would have because the Yankees were really good with Derek Jeter and all that back then.
That's right. I mean, he was phenomenal, Clemens. He was so dominant.
Rocket Roger.
Yeah. No, something else. Speaking of Olympics, Edward, trivia question. I'm throwing this one out at you. When was the first modern Olympic Games held when was the first modern Olympic Games held? Any idea?
1896.
Yeah, you got,
1896.
how'd you know that? You know, you're right.
No, it's one of those weird trivia ones I just happen to remember.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
Um,
It's
yeah.
I don't know. I kind of found it interesting.
And, oh yeah, because they started, what, in Greece, in Athens,
Yeah,
a few
no, that's
years
true.
ago. Yeah.
It's absolutely true. Yeah. Okay.
Can I tell you? Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, which city has hosted the most? Oh, that's not a good one. Well, actually, it's not a bad one. Which city hosted the most recent Summer Olympics in 2021?
2021.
Yeah.
Oh, because of COVID, they pushed it off. Gee, was it London?
No, it was Beijing.
Beijing. Oh, that's right. Because they also did in '88. No, that was Seoul. That's right, Beijing. Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, I got a funny one on the Olympics. Just so, do you remember the old TV show, The Odd Couple, with Jack Klugman and Tony Randall?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, very funny. So there's one episode. I love this one scene. There's this one episode where Jack Klugman, who's a sports writer, he sort of gets introduced to this princess of some really small country, Moldavia or something, right? They did make up a name, and she's trying to, and he says, "Gosh, I've never heard of your country," and she says, "Well, we actually had somebody in the Olympics, because not every country goes to the Olympics, right? You have to qualify for it, right?" And
Right.
he says, "Really?" He says, "Well, what sport?" And she says, "All of them." And he says, "How did he do?" And she goes, "He died."
Oh,
I'm thinking running a marathon, and they didn't do triathletes, but and volleyball, and all that, trying to do everything by yourself.
oh my
Sorry, that
gosh.
was a funny one.
That is.
See.
Hey, did you hear about Anthony Edwards challenging our U.S. women's ping pong team, saying that
No.
there's no doubt I could beat you girls. I'm terribly athletic, and the girls, the ladies took offense to that and have ribbed him since then. He showed up to their first match and was out there rooting them on, standing up, dancing, and they were pointing back at each other. So he might get a chance to play America's best and among the world's best. I call it ping pong. Apparently, it's called tennis, table tennis. But I kind of found that story
For 60 years, I've
kind
called
of
it
cute.
ping pong. Yeah. Well, I wonder. I mean, I'm assuming that he is good at it. He's not just blowing smoke by just picking a sport, any old sport, just because he's athletic.
I think sometimes the athletes are so full of themselves that they can I'm such a good athlete. Of course, I can play ping pong.
I mean, it's kind of an odd sport to choose. Curling or something, right? Did I tell you that I actually won a ping pong tournament on a cruise ship?
No, you did not, but proceed.
I did. I got a little trophy for it, and it was a tough match. These 10-year-old kids are tough, I'll tell you. No, I'm kidding. I actually was in the finals. It was me, and it was a lady probably in her 40s. She was really good. I just, I think the wind blew at the right time when the cruise ship was moving.
Oh man!
You ever try to do that? Play ping pong on a cruise ship while it's moving and it's windy. I mean, this one it wasn't windy, but I mean I've tried that before, and it's ridiculous.
Oh, that's right. So this was outdoors.
It was outdoors, yeah, but it wasn't windy, and I think we were. We were cruising, but we were at a slow enough pace that it's like you didn't really notice. It was like playing indoors, so it was a fair match. But I haven't played ping pong in years. Oh boy, that's fun. Let's see, what other sports you want to talk about today?
Well, how about the Giants? They traded designated hitter Jorge Soler and reliever Luke Jackson to the Braves. A kind of an interesting move for the Giants. I personally think, and you look at the the standings around. I think the Giants are finished. I don't think they're a very good team. I really don't. You look at the the standings around the league, and they're so out of it. I mean, you look at the American League, you see like the Baltimore Orioles are atop the AL East, the Yankees are shortly behind, the Indians are. I mean, it's just the Houston Astros are ahead in the AL West. I mean, it's just
The
kind of
the Commanders. I know. I still call them the Indians, but isn't it the Commanders now?
the Guardians.
Guardians. That's a no. What's the Commanders? Oh, Washington football, right?
Yeah, and
Guardians.
I
mean,
I can't.
Even
It's a horrific name. It's a horrible name. And by the way, with the Washington Redskins, there's a huge push, and I think it might just happen to get the Redskin name back, which I think would be a victory because the Indian tribal nations have
they support it.
come out vehemently saying, "Hey, this is not an offensive thing. It actually promotes our heritage." And it's true. It's very true, though.
You know what's funny? I mean, I would think that like Chiefs and Braves would be that way, but Redskins was always kind of a slap to Native Americans because of being more red skinned,
Right.
just like there's other derogatory names that that other peoples have, but like there was a time when people were upset about the name Braves, and it's like, really, that's like a warrior type of, that's a good thing, and a chief, that's a good thing too. Redskins I always thought was a little bit like, I could see why people would take offense to that, but hey, if they don't take offense to it, then why not?
Well, I mean, yeah, and to add to that, I mean, first of all, Braves and who was the other team you just mentioned?
Chiefs.
Um, Again, honoring being a Brave. What's wrong with that? Furthermore, I mean, let's this show, and I repeat this often. We are based out of the San Francisco Bay Area, and we have a very famous basketball team called the Golden State Warriors. Well, at one point, their logo, which is super cool, was a Indian headdress. They were the Warriors, as in Native Americans. And furthermore, people, I don't know if our listeners know this, but at one point, I think I was a kid. I know for a fact, and then I say this kind of, I'm trying to spit this out. The Stanford Cardinals were the Stanford Indians. I think that's just when Jim Plunkett was playing.
Jim Plunkett, yeah. They were the Stanford Indians, yeah. And in fact, it's interesting because he's Native American himself.
He wasn't offended. I mean, what is so offensive to be called an Indian? It's like being called.
I guess only because they didn't come from India, but that's only because Christopher Columbus thought that he landed in India or something. So he called them Indians.
Is it more appropriate to say Native American, of which I do have Native American blood in me? So
Okay.
I mean,
but what though? Theoretically, nobody's native to America, right? If you go way back, it goes to Middle East, right, or Africa or something. Right?
That's
so
true.
nobody. You could call them the first settlers, because that's what it is. You're settling a land that was uninhabited before, but they're not native, meaning they grew up there, or were born there.
No, that's true. I mean, I think my family took one of those DNA tests, and man, I'm thinking I'm Irish my entire life, and it turns out we have like some sort of like Middle East blood in us. I'm like, are you kidding me? Come on.
You got to figure. I know it is a big melting pot. So when are they going to get rid of the word 49ers? Because hey, those guys were prospecting in land that they didn't own, and I mean, I guess the only name that's not offensive is Jets. Who's going to take offense? Well, maybe climate change people will get offended at Jets.
But Jets crash, so
Well, not only that, but they use fossil fuels.
That's true. Also,
So
yes. Well, I mean, you look at the West Coast. I mean, how about New England Patriots, offensive. Dallas Cowboys, offensive. USC Trojans, they killed a lot of Christians and Jews and whatever else. San Jose State Spartans, how offensive. San Diego State Aztecs.
Well, and the Padres, they've even talked about that because, of trying to colonialize all of California. I mean, literally, you can find offense with everything. I mean, the Houston Astros. Okay, that's a tough one.
It's funny. We just mentioned Stanford Indians. Well, I
Yeah.
think they might have the name Stanford Cardinal. It's a red color. Boy,
Well, it was trees. It used to, wasn't it the Stanford trees, like
well,
redwood trees,
they're
or did
called
they
a
not?
cardinal though. But
Yeah,
yes,
but now they are. But yeah, but there was a time, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, because they still have like an evergreen tree
that's
as
correct. Yeah, no, that's
yeah,
correct.
Stanford
So
tree. But I think someone looked and goes, seriously, it's trees. That you're the trees, we're the mighty trees.
it's horrific. I mean, I don't know, man. The sports world is just there's so much to talk about. Olympics, baseball, what's going on with the upcoming NFL season, what's going on with the landscape of college sports, with the new a realignment from the West, Cal, Stanford to the ACC, USC, UCLA, Huskies, Ducks in the Big Ten. I mean, I don't know. This is gonna be one of the most bizarre college football seasons in the history of mankind.
Yeah.
I'm still going with Alabama as a team to beat. Alabama and Georgia are still the teams as far as I'm concerned. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, how much college football?
It'll be a real shake. It'll be an interesting season. Tell you what, let's go to our last commercial break here. All right, talking baseball here. Who is the only major leaguer to hit a grand slam right-handed and left-handed in the same game? I'll give you the year. Might not really help you too much. 2003. And by the way, he did it in consecutive innings. I think the opposing team was not very good on defense. The pitching probably not too good. Now, he did this for the Red Sox. He was a third baseman for the Red Sox, but I believe he also played for the Giants. All right? Stay with us. Sports Econ 101 will be right back with some closing comments. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Last time for today, I'm Edward Brown, your host, and Mike McDowd. Our third trivia question on baseball: who is the only major leaguer to hit a grand slam right-handed and left-handed in the same game? And oh, by the way, he did it in consecutive innings.
Is this guy kind of obscure?
Yeah, you don't really think about him.
I recall it. I don't remember the name though, but I definitely recall the event.
Now he pronounces it Miller, Bill Miller. It's pronounced you read it like Bill Mueller, but Bill Miller. I think he played for the Giants as a third baseman, and then he got traded to the Red Sox, I believe, and then that's when he did it. It was in 2003. Can you imagine hitting a grand? How many RBIs did you get? Well, I got 8 today. I got them in the first 2 innings or whatever.
One of the great records in baseball. I mean, who's gonna do that again?
Like I said, to me, the hardest one that I don't think could ever, well, could it be broken? Yeah. Will it be broken? Probably not. Cy Young, 511 wins.
Right.
I mean, can you imagine pitching 25 years or 20 years and winning 25 games, more than 25 games every single year for 20 years? I mean, that's just ridiculous, But anyway, okay, here's our thoughts for the day. So how many tickles does it take to make an octopus laugh?
How many tickles?
10. How many tickles? 10. 10 tickles. 10 tickles. Tentacles, right?
Good one.
You got it. Okay. And by the way, after this is a little bit more on the somber jokes thing. After the assassination attempt on Trump, the Secret Service is hiring individuals with roofing experience.
Oh man, that's good.
I saw a picture of a bunch of guys on the roof kind of like getting their balance, and it's like, yeah, I could.
Do you want to have a conversation on that topic? That's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we got to cut out. So tune in next week, audience, to Sports Econ 101. We're going to be discussing sports topics from a business perspective. Hopefully, we'll get Russell back here. I won't offend him anymore. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Go USA.